Okay, so all these days we were discussing about the concept called working with flat files as our source systems. Okay, so we have constructed so many objects. So if you are working with any of the uh, source system, irrespective of the source system, the same procedure we need to follow for all of our requirements. Same transformation, same DTP, info package, data sources, and we have discussed so many different target objects like for master data info object, master data with text, info queue, the three types of DSOs, multi-provider, then info set, then process change, then different role types, okay, open up destination. So whatever we have done so far with respect to flat file as our source system, irrespective of the source system, the same thing you would be doing. These are the most commonly used objects in every BWBA project. Okay. Now let us analyze what is an SAP ECC system is and what is the how we can do the same activity when when SAP ERP or SAP ECC is my source system. So usually if you log into our BWBI, so we'll be having different source systems, right? So let me log in. Okay, so RS7. Looks like the system is very slow today. Yeah, okay. So in the bottom you can see different source systems over here. So all these days you're working with a flat file as our source system, and we have other systems also, right? So one of the other most primarily used source system would be the SAP EC system. So these guys have added over here. Since all are the SAP products only, right? So we can add it in the BW section or in the SAP section. It's up to you. Okay. Now, so this is our BWBA system. SAP ECC system connection. Now, what is the SAP ECC or ERP? ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. So, enterprise means an organization. Resources means different resources like whatever it may be, a manpower, machine, plant, pencil, whatever. Every small thing is considered a resource and planning. So, within an organization, how do you plan your resources is nothing but an ERP applications. So there are lots of ERP applications available in the market. SAP ERP, Oracle apps, PeopleSoft, okay, JD Edwards, Bond, Microsoft Dynamics, lots of things are available. But out of all of these things, the most commonly used application is SAP ERP application. Most of the manufacturing companies would be using these kind of applications. So here, what if I don't have an ERP? Is a big question mark. So usually there would be every organization consists of different departments. Okay, so different departments will be using definitely some or other mode to store our data, store our day-to-day transaction data. Then if I don't have the ERP, then this each and every department would be using individual modes to store their respective data. So the financial department is using the Oracle database. The HR department is using some other PeopleSoft. The sales department is using some JD Edwards. Okay, so it is different departments will be using different applications. So you know the pain. Maintaining these different systems, maintaining these different applications is definitely a tough task. Which means we need to have very good number of workforce who know all these things. Okay, separate wings. So in order to, and also sometimes what happens is, because all of the organization data is not available in a single location, the decision making would be very slow because of this intercommunication between the systems. Okay, so in order to overcome these problems, the organization should be going with implementing the ERP applications. So what is the advantage is over here? Instead of maintaining so many systems, the ERP applications will be storing all of the organization data in a single system. So what is the advantage? all of the data is available in a single system, right? So everything is very fast. Maintenance is reduced, okay. The number of resources is reduced. Decision making become faster. Why? Because all things are available in a single system. So all the department's information is available in a single system. So here the things will be very, very fast compared to the other scenario. So lots of ERPs available in the market. But if I take the example of PeopleSoft, it is very good at handling the HR related activities of the organization, but not the other departments. If I take JD Edwards, it is very good at handling sales and distribution activities of an organization, but not the other parts, other areas of the organization. If I take Salesforce.com, CRM activities, excellent. Okay, Oracle app, financial. So here what I understand is, these applications are very much famous for only specific area of an organization, not for the organization as a whole. But my SAP ERP does the same thing. It is an application where it works for the organization as a whole. It maintains all of the organization data, the finance department data, the sales department, HR department, material management department, everything. So here each and every department is considered as a module. That is the reason SAP FI module, SAP CO, SAP MM, SAP PM, PP, QM, SD, HR. Close to 150 modules are there. So what are these 150 modules? Nothing but different departments of the organization. So depending on your requirement, you would be implementing those different modules. Okay. So it's like everything is readily available, but you need to purchase the respective objects and install them accordingly. So this is what is a small introduction with respect to the SAP ECC. So SAP ERP application is also called as SAP ECC. What is called Enterprise Central Component. So when in your organizations, whenever you encounter words called SAP ECC, first of all, SAP ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning, or ECC, Enterprise Central Component, or R3 systems. Okay, I'll just here make a note called R. Okay, R. So SAP ERP or ECC or R3 or R2, all are what is called talking to the same system. So here ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning, ECC, Enterprise Central Component, R3, real-time 3-tier architecture, R2, real-time 2-tier architecture. So if one of the guy came to you, hey Vinay, hey guys, hey Vinay, could you please open the R3 system? Then what system I should open? SAP ECC system, R2 system, ECC system only. So different people would be using different terminology. Why it is called as a R3 system is, here the SAP system is also works on the client server architecture. Okay, so here we have 3 layers. That's the reason this system is called as R3 system. Presentation layer, application layer, database layer. Okay, so here simple. For example, here you just went to the GoToMeeting, some Gmail. You don't have any Gmail account. Okay, for example, you are about to create a Gmail account. Then what I will do? So for example, go to Facebook. Okay, Facebook. Sorry, not Facebook. So here you want to create a new account. What will you do? You will just enter all these details over here. Okay, one by one. Once you enter and click on the create an account, what the system will do is, so this is also client server architecture. Okay, and this layer is called as a presentation layer because you are able to see your things and enter your details, right? So this area is called as a presentation layer. And when you enter something over here and click on the create button, your job. So in the back end, there's something called a work process. Okay, So it's like a two-way communicator between the, it takes up your job. So the application layer is like your server or CPU. Okay. So it takes up this job and talk to the database layer. So here we will go and check with respect to Vinay3670 at gmail.com, any account is already existing. So what database layer? It is a place where the data is getting stored in the different tables, right? So it will take up this thing and contact your database layer and talk. Okay, with this Vinay3670 Gmail ID at the rate gmail.com, any user ID is already existing. Yes, then this database layer will again talk to the application layer in turn talk to the presentation layer, and here we will get a message like account already exists, please create a new one, or please use a new user ID, new something. So this is what is happening with respect to SAP ECC or SAP systems also. Here, whenever I am creating any object, okay, assume I am creating another object with the same name again. Then what the system will do? It will throw you an error message stating that the technical name already exists. How come it no? So this is nothing but called as a presentation layer. Okay. So in the middle there is at the server level there is an application layer and the database layer, two different boxes. So when I was about to create any object, the work process will pick up in the application layer. There is an object called work process. It will pick up this job. It will pick up your job and communicate with your database layer and check whether the object is existing or not. If existing, it will throw you an error message. If not existing, what it will do? It will create a new record in the database table and inform the same thing to the application layer. That record has been created. The same in turn will inform to the presentation layer, where you see a message like object activated, object created, info object created, something like this messages. So all your applications usually works on these principles. That is the reason it is called as the R3, real-time three-tier architecture. So presentation layer in some different box, the application layer in different box, and the database layer in a different box. Okay, but in earlier scenarios, in old ages, I mean before 90s or before 95, something like that, before, here this, if I diagram, then this is a separate box. Okay, the application presentation layer in the separate box. This one in the separate box. This one in the separate box. But in older systems, they used to maintain this application layer and database layer in a single box. A single box. That's the reason that is called R2. So real-time two-tier architecture. Okay. So this is a small introduction with the R3 and R2. If you want a good knowledge of what is in detail, okay, then go to my material, computer, software, material. Okay, you see an option called here SAP introduction. So you can refer to this. So just let me open this PPT and show you whatever we have discussed as of now. Okay, just go to this document. You'll be having clear understanding. Okay, so yeah. So what's the full form of SAP? You founded SAP, the basic information. Okay. So R3 architecture. So this is called as R3 architecture. So these are nothing but your presentation layer, the application layer, CPU environment, the database layer. So the presentation means clients. So we end user. So every end user is called as a person, right? The client. So here I am using, Sai is using, Anurag is using, Arish is using. Some other people are also using. So multiple presentation layers. Okay, in the between multiple application layers to handle these different objects, multiple CPUs. but exactly one database server. Okay, then see. So in the real-time system, what will happen is every project usually have a system. This is called a system landscape. So here, whenever you get a requirement, we'll do all of our developments in the development system. Then we'll move the same object to the quality system for thorough testing. Once it is done, here we will be getting the manager approval. Once it is done, then we will be moving the data to the production system. So production system is the place where the actual data is available. Okay, so this is called as the system landscape. Not only in R3, the same logic is applicable to your BW also. So whenever you want to change something, you never do directly over here. Because if something is affecting, then definitely it is going to affect your report or any other objects also, right? So we'll just don't do any experiments over here. And even if you try to do the experiment, the system will not allow you. It will show you that you're trying to modify the existing object, which is not possible. The basis consultants would be locking the objects not to edit in the production system, except few objects. Okay, but everything is open in the development system. So do the changes over here, move into the quality system, move into the production system. A procedure needs to be definitely followed over here. So these are your clients are architecture. The presentation layer, I am sitting and working. Whenever I am asking something, the work process in the applications layer, it's always a two-way communicator. Always a two-way communicator. So this database there, check and again show it to your on top of your screen. Okay. Yeah. So this is the different modules of SAP R3. So here just highlighted here only the important modules are getting highlighted, but in the real time we will be having other modules also. It depends, varies from organization to organization depending on the requirement. But the most common modules are these things: sales and distribution, EMM, material management, PP, production planning, QM, PM, WM, FI, CO, AM, asset management, HR, WF workflow, project system. Okay, so different areas of an organization. That's it. Now, let's go to the Java at a later point of time. Now everything is fine, right? Now here what's advantage of the ERP? All the data is available in a single location, and so this SAP ERP is also one of the OLTP system, online transaction processing system, where we store our day-to-day transaction data. So in the year 1972, SAP has come up with this product. So before that, it has done a lot of R&D, research and development, and went to the different sectors like manufacturing sector, banking sector, okay, aerospace, like this different organizations, different sectors. It has gone through and derived this SAP ERP system. So keeping in mind the SAP requirements, okay, keeping in mind the different requirements, while deriving this SAP ERP application, it has come up with a lots of built-in objects. So with respect to each and every department, SAP has given you lots of predefined objects, ready to use tables or something like this. So in the same fashion, it has created lots of finance tables. For each and every department, everything it ensures that everything is ready-madely available. Why? Because if everything is readily available, for example, you are feeling hungry. Okay, so if you go to a restaurant, everything would be ready. Then within 10 minutes of your time, your dinner is done. Okay, you are feeling hungry, but nothing is ready. What you need to do? You need to first of all buy the vegetable, the stuff. Okay, and then cook them, then eat them. So lengthy procedure is involved. 1 hour process. Restaurant 10-minute process. So what do you understand by this one? If everything is ready, then no need to develop anything, right? So definitely the project implementation time is reduced. Okay, so keeping in mind all, and at the same time everything is ready, everything is thoroughly tested. Okay, which means it will definitely save you a lot of time. So keeping these things in mind, SAP has given you lots of predefined FI finance tables. the sales tables, HR tables. So the organizations would be using these tables in order to store their respective data. Every day when the transactions are happening, then they would be using these tables. If you want to create if for example, SAP has given you something, okay, it is not satisfying your requirement or it's a brand new one, then in that case, you can happily go and create your new objects. So usually in SAP system, whatever the object names, whatever it may be a table, it may be a file, it may be a program, it may be an object, any object name starting with A till X are considered as SAP defined objects. Okay, so if you open SAP ECC system, whenever you encounter any object name starting with, okay, are called as A to X are called as SAP defined objects, and whenever you want to create a donor object, you will be using either Y or Z. Y or Z. But usually we will be going with Z object. It's also called as Z object. So these objects are not editable. You are not allowed to edit. If you want to edit, definitely you need to take the permission. There is a separate concept called access key. Okay. So give the details, then only you are allowed to edit. Otherwise, no. But these are user defined objects, right? So according to your wish, you can happily edit. So keeping in mind the different business requirements, SAP has given you lots of predefined tables. So your data is getting stored. The management is very, very happy because all of the data is readily available. That means a single system. All of the organizational data is available in a single system, and they are able to communicate with one another. Okay, and the business is making very fast. The business decision making is happening very fast. So the management is very happy. Now, here these guys wants to make use of this business data and take some decision making. How my country is performing, how my materials are getting purchased, all this stuff, some kind of stuff. But whatever the problems we have discussed with the OLTP, drawbacks with respect to the reporting, the same problems are applicable to your SAP ECC also. So if you want to create a report in SAP ECC also, we can do, no problem. But here for every small change, we need to do a lot of back-end activity. No GUI supported. Okay, no charts kind of environment is available. You are using the same system resources. Actually, this OLTP, this SAP ECC system is optimized for writing data, not for reading. So the same problems what we discussed in our initial class, all the things are applicable over here. In order to overcome these, so the managements are very happy when it comes to the SAP ECC performance, all this stuff. But when it comes to reporting, they are not much happy. So in order to overcome all these hurdles, problems, SAP has come up with its own data warehousing solution called SAP BW or BI. So what is the primary intent of constructing the data warehousing solution is to do the reporting on top of SAP ECC system. So in order to save a lot of development time, in order to save a lot of testing time, all this stuff, keeping in mind the SAP ECC tables, okay, their structures, their column names, all this stuff, SAP has come up with a lot of predefined objects in BW BI also. All these days I have not discussed about these things. Why? Because we were working with a flat file scenario, right? So flat file means it's your own requirement. For your own requirement, nothing is readily available. You need to create everything from the scratch. That's the reason initially I was going with the flat file requirement, and that is the reason now you are able to understand very easy manner. Why? Because you have done everything from the scratch. What is your requirement? What are the different objects I have to take into consideration? How to establish the connection? How to load the data? How to do a report? What are the different options available in a report? Okay, what is a query designer? What is analyzer? All this stuff you got a clear understanding. Okay, but in the case of your SAP ECC as your source system, everything would be readily available. Your info cube would be readily available. Your master data info object is readily available. Everything is structures are readily available. Your duty is to just go them. So these structures are ready to use, but currently not. So your duty is to, according to your requirements, you need to activate them. Initially, they are not, the structure is available, but not in active mode. So you need to, if you want to use it, just activate it and activate it and use it, start using it, load the data and make sure the data is available for report, simply. So what is the advantage you are getting? Instead of developing, instead of analyzing, developing all this stuff, everything is readily available, just start using them. Now, here for example, I got a requirement. So this is how your SAP ECC system will look like. Same, not even small change, because your SAP ECC and your SAP BW has been developed basically on using the ABAP programming language on both the systems. Okay. Now see, use the same username and the password.
Caps lock is on.
Caps lock is on now. Okay, thank you. Confusion actually ikkada chupisund idea raavadu. So note pad type chestanu. Okay, small. अरे यार Okay, so this is how your SAP ECC system will look like. Any change over here? Nothing. Every option is one and the same. But the only difference is here this system is used for some other purpose, right? So we have some different set of transaction codes. So usually we would be working with the SC level to create the tables, okay, to open any existing tables, all this stuff. For example, here also the same thing. The different tables are there with respect to different material data. So here there's a table called MARA, okay, M-A-R-A. Okay, so this table is nothing but where all the material information is stored. Okay, so now click on display. So in your SAP ECC, you are doing some business, right? So here all the material information is available in this table. So this is here this is how the tables are getting defined. This is the field name, this is the data type, the respective length, and the description of the field. This is the table name, this is the table description. So this is how a table will look like in SAP ECC. And if you construct anything, you need to define the same way. And if you observe, 249 fields are so SAP tables are very big tables, which means here for every here the material is the primary key for this table. So if I check this one, that's becoming the primary key. And what are all these things? The other information about your material. So the SAP tables are very large tables. That's the reason initially I was telling you, SAP has done a lot of R&D while designing the system. So keeping in mind the business, different business requirements, different business structures, all this stuff, it has come up with its very, very large tables. Okay, so all the information about the materials are stored over here. All the information, nothing is left. So whatever the field you want to use, you are always welcome to use. Whatever you don't want to use, you just ignore it. So no problem, right? Why? Because only one primary key. So this should be unique. All the other objects, it's up to you whether you want to populate them or not. Then go back. In the table, there's a table called K enable, and if you observe, all are starting with A to X, because these are all given by the SAP system. SAP while designing the system. So display. So this is the place where all the customer informations are stored. So what is the, see here if you observe, customer number is the primary key, and country, what is his name 1, name 2, city, postal code, house number. So 185 details about the customer. That would be too much, right, for every customer. So for example, you are a customer of one of the organization. Do you provide 185 things about you? No. Which means here the SAP tables are very, very big tables which can accommodate any kind of information. Okay, any kind of information. So if you want to see your data, same thing. How you are viewing your SAP BW data, same thing. So go to its contents, number of entries. You can see close to, in this the training system, right? So close to 8,900 customers are there. So just execute the data. It is going to show you all the details. So by default, it is going to show you only 200 details only. If you want to show all the things, then just go and change the number. So the customer number, it belongs to this country. If this is the name to the city, the postal code, everything is available. Okay, everything. Like this, lots of tables are there given by the SAP, and we will be using these tables to store our respective data. That's fine. Now, I got a call. We BWBA consultant got a requirement meeting. Okay, from one other department. Let us take the example of finance department. Okay, so this finance department manager and all other people has held a meeting with the BWBA consultant. They had some reporting requirements on top of those tables. Okay. Now, in the meeting, the manager would be giving an introduction with respect to what does this particular department will do, all this stuff. Once these things are done, then he would be introducing us what is reporting requirements. Yes. So whenever we talk about SAP ECC requirement, here in the meeting, different peoples are coming. SAP functional consultants, SAP ABAP consultants, SAP BWBA consultants. Why? Because I am a BWBA consultant. I don't have business knowledge. ABAP is also technical consultant. He has the knowledge of the tables. What are the different tables are there? Okay, how the tables are connected to one another, all this stuff. He is also not having the business knowledge. But these functional consultants would be having the business knowledge. Okay, they would be, so FI consultant means you would be having the financial knowledge, nothing but the business knowledge, plus how we implement the same in our SAP systems. Okay, now when my manager has come up with its requirements, what we will do is we will make a note of all of his requirements. Even though we are not understanding anything, we'll just blindly note them. Then once the meeting has been concluded, then we will again have a meeting with here the managers are not coming into picture, they are gone. They'll just give the requirements and gone. Then the second layer the second level people come into picture. So here we would be sitting closely with our functional consultants, the ABAP consultant and the BI consultant. So BI BW consultant will ask the functional consultant, boss, your manager has asked me to generate this report. Could you please help me out? What is the meaning of these things? Then he would be explaining. Again, I will be making a note. And I'll ask my ABAPer also to make a note of all of these things. Once it is done, the functional consultant is also gone. Then I will be sitting closely with the ABAP consultant and asking him, boss, this is what the information they have needed, right? So could you please help me out to find out what are the back-end tables involved? Where the field names, all this stuff. Okay, so this ABAP consultant would be giving me a clear picture of what are the back-end tables involved, what are the columns I will take into consideration, all this stuff. So this entire thing I will be documenting, and I will be calling it as a functional specification. It's totally basing on your business requirements, business knowledge. Once this functional specification is ready, as a BWBA consultant, what I need to do, I need to convert all this functional knowledge into my technical knowledge, and I need to understand what are the different objects I need to take into consideration. What are the different info objects? What are the different data sources? What are the different DS scores? What are the different info cubes? Okay, on top of which we need to create the query. In the query, what is the reporting requirement? Like this, I would be considering all these things. What is the naming convention I need to follow? What would be my data type? What would be my length? How do I connect these structures? How the connection should be established? How frequently the data should be loaded? All these things I will be taking into consideration and preparing a document called as a technical specification. So this technical specification will always talk in terms of your SAP BW terminology. Once it is done, then in the development phase, we will start developing the objects in the BW. Then test them, then move into the production system. So this is all the entire story. The same thing we are going to do over here now. Now, here according to the requirement and according to my discussions with the ABAP consultant, okay, I got a information that I need to do the reporting on top of these two tables, BSID and BSAD. So these are two finance tables, okay, finance tables. Now, sorry, BSID and BSAD, for example. So here, go to your ECC system. So I'm just logging out the BWBA system for now. No need to open it. Okay, then done. Then go to SC11. Okay, what's the first table name? BSID. Okay, BSID. Click on the display. So now, with the help of an ABAPer, I got understanding that, and in order to satisfy that respective manager's requirements, I need to do the reporting on top of this table. So what is this table? It consists of information, and close to 187 fields are there. And you can see for this table, so many keys are there. So here, these are called the field names. These are nothing but the description. So most of the time we are depending on the description. Why? Because the field names are a bit confusing, right? UMSKZ, UMSKS, something different. Why? Because here this SAP system is a German-based application. So while defining this application, all these table names, all these field names are based in German. But fortunately, the descriptions are in English, so we can easily understand. Okay. And you can see all the table names, all the field names are starting with between A and X. A and X. Okay. Now, here if you observe, so this is nothing but your company code, primary key, company code, customer number, primary key, special general ledger transaction type, primary key. So many keys are there. So what if I have a more than one primary key in my table in order to uniquely identify my record? What is the key called as? If I have more than one key in order to uniquely identify my record, what is the key is called as? I am asking you guys a question.
Composite key.
Composite key. Okay. So here also the same thing. So these are the all other fields. Okay. Fine. Then go to the next table. BSAD. Okay. Now click on display. Now we can see here also some lots of primary keys are there, and this also contains some close to 80 fields, 187 fields. So if you have few of the fields are common, right? So the customer company code, the customer number. So basing on this key combination, I can happily establish the connection between these two tables, pull the data, and then show at the report level. That's fine. Yeah. So here, whenever you get a requirement from your SAP ECC tables, your first duty is to make a note of these tables. And I already told you, in order to save a lot of development time, in order to save a lot of implementation time, SAP has come up with its lots of predefined objects based on SAP ECC tables. So whenever you get a requirement, what is your first duty is to make a note of the tables and find out whether based on these tables SAP has given you anything or not. If it is giving, then your work would be very, very easy. Why? Because everything is readily available, right? So you can happily work with your objects. If SAP has not given anything, then you need to work as if you are working with a flat file scenario. With the flat file scenario, same thing, right? Everything we need to create by ourselves. Nothing is given by the SAP. Okay? Now, how to find out that whether the object has given? So, we have our all-time favorite, help.sap.com. So, here is the place where all the official documentation of the SAP is given, right? So, here is the place where we need to search. So, this way we can search. Okay? We can search over here. Or otherwise, what are our table names? Just copy the table names. Okay? And the other simplest way is go to Google and type over there. Type over there. Okay? So, table names. Okay, enter. Now you can see what is the first link I am getting, sca.sap.com, help.sap.com. So this help.sap.com will give you the what is called the official documentation of the SAP, right? So click on this link. Now you can see what are all these things: data sources, characteristics, key figures, info sources, DSO or ODS, info cubes, queries, workbooks. These are not nothing but all these is whatever we have studied. So what do you understand by this one is, keeping in mind the SAP ECC tables, SAP has readily created all of these objects and kept ready for you. Your duty is to understand for your tables is anything is available or not. So way to search, go to these respective websites and here search these data sources. So these data sources you can see here clearly it is giving you all the information. See, this data source extracts accounts receivable accounting items from the tables BSID and BSID. Okay, so in the R3 source system, and this is the data source constructed already available. So when I talk about SAP ECC as our source system, the data source is constructed in the data in the EC system itself, and once it is ready, we will be moving the object to the BW system. And all the other objects, your characteristics, key figures, DSOs, info cubes, are all created in the what is called your BW system itself. Only except info cube, all the things are created in the SAP BW. In the case of flat file scenario, we are creating all the things in the SAP BW only. But in the case of SAP ECC, one small change. Data source is defined in the data source system and all the other objects in the BW system. So here, in the help.sap.com, the official documentation, I clearly see that based on these tables, okay, everything is ready. So clearly it is telling this data source has been constructed basing on these tables. Okay, now I need to go and check what are the different tables involved. So sorry, what are the different columns or field names involved, because these columns or field names are nothing but my info objects. Okay, so company code, the fiscal year period, account document number. So these things have been pulled from these two tables, right? Because these are the primary keys, right? Company code, account. Just now we have seen the same thing. Now all the information. So this is perfectly suiting your requirement. So once you got an understanding, now you can see. So no need to go to the characteristics, not to go to the key figures. Go to your DSO, ODS, DSO or ODS, open it. Now accounts payable line items, click on this option. You can see this, this is the technical name of a DSO. Okay, so what does your DSO consist of? The key fields plus data fields, right? So now here clearly it is telling you that this DSO contains all the items transferred from the source systems using the info source or data source 0FI-AP3. But here the 0FI-AP3 is an old version data source and it has been replaced with your new version data source over here. I will show you. Okay. So here this AP3 is the old version data source. Now AP4, right? See AP4, and you can see this data source is based on this tables. Okay, not this one. Sorry, accounts receivable. Yeah. Okay. Now clearly you can see. So what is our object now? Yeah, it is accounts receivables AR. Just close it. Now you clearly see that this data source FI AR4 0 FI AR4. Okay, we get data from the BSID and PSID. That is nothing but our my two tables. Okay, and it clearly mentions. So earlier scenarios, there was already an existing data source called 0 FI AR3. But now this respect to data source 4.1 will replace these three objects. Okay. Now go to the ODS objects. So go to this option. So here you can see this ODS is based on the 0 FI API. Why I am getting sorry maybe. So AR, you need to go to AR. In the AR, click on the ODS objects. Okay, click on accounts receivables. So now we can see this ODS is based on this data source, but we know that the data source has been replaced by 4, right? So we can use the data source and establish the connection. And what does your data DSO consist of? The key fields plus data fields, right? So all of the data source characteristic info objects what we use are listed over here, and you can see every object name is starting with the 0. That is what I discussed in SAP BW BI. Whatever the SAP has given you, that is starting with a 0. And whenever you create your own objects, those will be starting with the Z. Okay. So these are all given by. So keeping in mind the SAP ECC tables, their respective fields. Okay. So for example, see company code. So for company code, the info object given by SAP is a 0 comp code. So clearing date. Okay. Chart of accounts. That is you. In my, if I go back to this table, I was seeing some 187 fields, right? So you need to create first of all 187 info objects, keeping in mind your what is the type of info object you take into consideration. You'll be going with characteristic or key figure, but SAP has already created all these things and they're kept ready for you. Your duty is to just use them. Okay, if you going on creating some 200 info objects, then definitely you can expect how much time you would be wasting, or how much development time it would be taken. Okay, so all the things are ready. See, these are the time characteristics. These are all the key figures. So keeping in mind your SAP ECC tables, SAP has done all this work. Okay, so the DSO is ready. Now go to your info cubes. So click on this info cube. So C03, and you can see this info cube is also based on the same data source. So it's up to you. In the middle layer, you want to use the DSO or not. Now we can see all the info objects from which table are we getting the information, all this stuff. Okay. So here according to my requirement, all the BWB objects are readily available to me. Okay. So I don't need to create anything. But these objects are available in a delivery mode. Okay, which means ready to use, but not yet structured. Okay, so what you need to do is you need to collect all these information and place over here. So what is your first data source? First you will be working with the data source object, right? So what is your data source name? You need to make a note of your data source name. So what is my data source? Yeah, this one I want to take into consideration, right? FIAR4. So copy your data source name. So here, these are my tables, basing on which the requirement is done. Now, basing on these things, SAP has given you lots of ready-made objects, right? So make a note of all of those objects. Data source. Next, DSO. Next, input. Okay. Now, what is my DSO name over here? So go to my DSO ODS. So click on this one. So anybody can access. So it's a public domain. So the help.sap.com, anybody can access and make it out. And here this is my info cube name. So the only difference is it will be C0. So if you observe, the naming convention also, 0 means SAP defined object, FI means financial department. Within the financial department, this object belongs to accounts receivable department, and this is the fourth data source. 0 FIAR O03. O stands for ODS or DSO. C stands for Q. So standard naming convention is followed everywhere. So now what I mean is, here basing on these tables, SAP has readily given you these objects. So you don't need to develop anything, just install them. So with respect to your BWBI, with respect to your data source, we would be taking this activity in the SAP ECC tables, ECC system. Why? Because here these tables are available in the ECC system, right? So that's the reason we would be constructing our data source in this ECC itself. But all the BW activities we are going to do in our BW system itself. So now once you are done with your collection of your information, okay, log into your SAP ECC system. Your SAP ECC system will also work on the same principles like your transaction codes. So lots of transaction codes are there. For now, go to a transaction code called RSA5. RSA5. Enter. So here, whatever the SAP has given you for the BWBA purpose are called as business content. Standard business content. SAP defined content. Which means SAP has given you ready-made, right? So that's the keyword which you will be using. Now when I went to RSA5, you can see installation of data source from the business content. Okay, so this is my SAP R3 system, and these are the different modules or the department's data that is currently available in this system. Now these are different departments, right? And where does your object fall into? The finance department, right? So search for your finance department. Yes, financial accounting. So expand it. Now within the finance department, what sub-department? Accounts receivables, right? So FIAR, yes, it's available only. Okay, done. Then once it is done, then search for your object. So here, what is this RSA5 transaction code? Means RSA5 contains all of the data sources that are defined by the SAP. But here all are ready to use. Okay, all are stored in delivery mode. If you want to use anything, you need to select your data source and make it active. Okay, so here if you observe, you need to find out your data source, because these are all things given with SAP. You can see your object is also available. 0FI underscore AR underscore 4. So perfectly matching with my technical name over here. So I want to use this object now, right? So select this object and click on the option called activate data source. So currently they are in the delivery mode. If you want to use them, you need to activate them. So carry out requests if urgent, yes please. Okay, now we can see action successfully completed. Go back. So this way you need to activate. But you need a proof whether my object is activated or not, whether my object is ready to use or not. Then you need to go to a transition code called RSA6. Earlier case RSA5, now RSA6. Now you can see post-process data sources. Same SAP R, same FI, same FIAR, Now we can see your respective data source is available. So this is the proof that my data source has been activated. So what is the difference between RSA5 and RSA6? RSA5 contains all of the data sources that are given by the SAP, but in delivery mode, but in delivery version. Whenever you select your data source and activate it, okay, it is ready to use, right? So those ready to use data sources are available in the RSA6 transaction code. So if a data source available in RSA6 means it has been activated. It is ready to use. You want proof? Okay. So now what I'll do is I'll just select this data source now and click on it from this particular screen. When you do the practice, don't do this activity. Just for explanation only, I am doing. And especially don't do this activity in your real-time systems. You are thrown out of your seat the next minute. Okay? Just for your knowledge purpose, I know what am I doing. That's the reason I'm just explaining. Okay. Now, is my data source available in the screen now? FIR4? No. Okay. Now go back. Okay. Now go to your RSA5. Now SAP R3. Now FI again. Now FIR. Okay. Select it. Now activate your data source. Okay. Now go back. Now go to RSA6, SAP R3, FI, FIAR. You can see your data source again coming in. So it means it is successfully activated. Which means it is ready to use. So let me make a note of steps. Once I log into the SAP ECC system, I need to go to a transition code called RSA5. Once I activated my object, I need to go to another one called as RSA6. Okay? Then that's it. My data source is ready. I want to see my data source structure, how it is maintained. Then go to a transition code called RSA2. Okay? Enter. Now it's asking you the data source name. So copy your data source name. Paste. Display. Now we can see this is your data source name. This is the descriptions. When we were constructing our processor, what is called a data source manually, we were giving all these things. But this SAP defined object, everything is available. And you can see this data source data type is the transaction data, and this belongs to the application component called FIAR, accounts receivables. And go to the extraction tab. Here, basing on those two tables we have defined, okay, basing on these two tables, what SAP has done was, it has defined a structure and defined all those table data, a table structure over here. And if you want to see the fields, go to the fields, the same fashion. So these are all your field names according to your requirement. Okay, so this is how to see the structure. So my data source is ready to use. I see the structure. I want to see whether my data source is able to pull the data from these two tables or not, just for testing purpose. Okay, then what I can do is I need to go to a transition code called RSA3. These are just for testing purposes. Okay, now we can see your data source is ready. Now click on the extraction button. So just testing. Okay, just testing. So now when I execute this one, my system will go and talk to these two tables, because these two tables have primary key foreign key relationship, right? So using those things, the system will be reading data, and now it is getting displayed. Click on OK, click on ALV grid. Now we can see all the data it is pulling from the respective tables. So company code, the fiscal year period, the document number. So these highlighted numbers are nothing but your primary keys, and all other things are nothing but other keys. So here the data is getting from the two tables. The data is getting from the two tables. So if you want to do a reconciliation, take any record, any common record, okay, and go with the same object. Okay, go with the, for example, see, open another session, go to SC level, okay, go to BSAD table, for example, display, contents. Now what's the primary key over here? For example, here in this case, this one is acting like a primary key, right? For example, so got the document number. So here 18, how many zeros? 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 zeros, 1. Okay. So give the same as the input. What is the field name? Account document number, right? Okay. Let's put as the field. So account document number, Okay. So 1870, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Now click on number of entries. So 20. Okay. Now just keep on filter. Why? Because there are lots of other filters also, right? So company code is 0005. So go with other filters also. Oh, 0, 9. Maybe just go with the simple value 5. Sometimes the leading zeros would be automatically added. Oh my goodness. This is the company code of this one, right? So look at company code. Okay, no problem. There may be some problem with the filter. Just we'll go and see your data. Delete. Okay. Number of entries. So if you reconcile, the data would be 100% matching. Why? Because these are the objects given by the SAP. Okay. But if you observe here, the company code is not getting populated. Why? The numbers are a bit different over here. And can I see my date? 12/2006, right? So 2006 data is available. Well, 2012 data is not available. So let us go and check in our other table, BSID. So it should be 100% matching, no doubtable. Somewhere we are missing some option. So display, maintenance. So what is our document number? Okay, number of entries. Okay, edit, and here 00305. Okay, yeah, now I got it. Okay, now what is the other filters? It is coming data from the fiscal year 2006, right? So you can even drill down to 2006 also, so that it will be pointing to your request only. So number of entries. So perfect. Now execute. Okay. Now you can see the customer number is 600. Okay, the document number. So let us go and check process the same data. Customer number is 600, right? So now let us go and check. Customer number is 600. Okay. So here what else? So let us go and analyze the one of the value. So here debit amount is 77519, right? So go and see the same table. So debit amount. So 775119. Amount is 1000, right? So let's go and check. Amount debit is 1000. So perfectly matching with the source requirement, right? So it will be perfectly matched. With this combination, there is no record in the BSID table. That's the reason that table is not showing you data. But there are few records where the data is available in both the tables, right? The same document number and the company code. If that is the case, we can, because both are using the same data, right? The primary key, foreign key. So it would be able to pull the data from the two tables. So when I reconcile, everything is perfect. Now go back to my file. So what are the transition codes I was using? RSA2 to check my data source structure, RSA3 to cross check whether my data source is populating correctly or not. And I have done with these activities, which means this data source is ready to use. So these two are for just testing purposes. Okay, these two, this one also for testing. This one we are using it to install our data source and ready to use. So with this step, my data source is ready. You are not going to get anything. Okay. Now once it is ready, log into your SAP BW system. Log into your BW. So go to, you can close it. You can close your SAP ECC. Okay. Okay. Now go to your SAP log on pad again and open the SAP BW system. And before working with the SAP ECC and BW, ensure that the connection is established between these two objects. Okay, connection is mandatory. So go to our RS7. Now go to source systems. You can see this is our SAP ECC system. So for whatever we have logged in, the 390 client 90. Okay, is our SAP. So connection is ready and it has been established. So we can just use these objects. Now before going ahead, I just want to cross check all these objects because this is a training system, right? Might be some other person would have worked with these different objects. Okay, so just I'll go and check those objects. So start with InfoQ. So go and just cross check. If it was somebody has already worked, we'll just go and delete them. Okay, so find the button. So give your InfoCube name, InfoCube. Search. Okay, okay, no problem. It's not available. Then this one. So we need to cross check. DS, right? So data store objects. Search. Okay, no problem. Copy your data source. Data sources. Okay, search. Okay, somebody has worked with it, just will delete it, no problem. It's a single step. Okay, right click, delete, that's it. Okay, done. So nothing is ready, everything is free now. So once you are done with these activities in the SAP ECC system, log into your BWBA. Here my DS data source available in the SAP ECC system as of now. It's not available in the BWBA, right? So I need to copy this data source from SAP ECC to the BW. So for this purpose, use a transition code called RSDS. RSDS, okay? That is within the BWBA. So go to the transaction code RSDS. Okay, enter. Now give a data source name, copy paste. What is your source system? So go and check your source system, find your source system. So 390 client ended is SAP ECC system. So just double click on it. Okay, and go to the menu called data source and click on the option called replicate data source. Replicate. So what am I doing with this step? I am copying the data source from the SAP ECC to the SAP BW system. That's it. You can see the replication was done successfully. Excellent. Okay. Now go back. Only one step, single. Now go to your RSA1. Now go to find button. Give the data source name, check the data sources, search. Now we can see earlier the data source was not available. Now we can see your data source available. Just double click on it. See, it's perfectly the same way how we have worked with the other strategies. The descriptions, extraction, but here no header rows to be ignored, all this stuff. Why? Because it's a system to system communication, table to table communication, right? So no need to provide those details. Automatically the system will establish the connection. Now go to the fields tab. The same thing. In the construction of our flat file data sources, we were using info objects, but in the construction of this data source, this is based on the SAP ECC tables, right? So SAP has used the same table names, field names, in order to construct your data source also. So same thing, not even small change. Yesterday I was discussing about the selection. So if this is available, then you can happily filter the data, right? So the same thing. So with this step, my data source is ready. Have I created anything? Nothing. Everything is really given by the SAP. Okay. Now, whenever you replicate, so the entire process, the process of copying the data source from SAP ECC to SAP BW is called as replication. Okay. Once my data source is ready, it's better to activate your data source again once your copy has been completed. Okay. So go to your change mode of your data source. Even though it is active, okay, you need to activate again. Okay, so what we will do is, yeah, And if you observe your data source, you can see a small square symbol in front of your data source. So what does that mean is, here this data source is a 3-point text related data source. So if you remember into my basic classes again, we were discussing about two types of flows. I'll just show you the diagram, then you can easily understand. So this is nothing but our 7.0 flow, okay, and this is nothing but our 3.0 flow, okay. So yesterday or for the other guys I have discussed earlier. Now here, whenever you see this symbol, square symbol in front of any data source, which means that particular data source belongs to the old version 3.x, which means it is still supporting the transfer rules, the update rules, all this stuff, but you are in the latest system. Here I am copying the data source from the SAP ECC system, right? Here my BWBA system is getting upgraded. It was SAP 7.2.0, 3.5, 7.0, 7.3, 7.4. But in my SAP ECC, the tables are one and the same. Okay, so that's the reason it is still pointing to the old version. So which means it still supports the transfer rules and the update rules, all this stuff. But now my BWBA system is totally transformed. Okay, it has these topics are obsolete. It has been replaced by transformations and DTPs. So once I see these kind of symbols, okay, in my system, if it is already created flow, no problem. But if you are creating now, okay, as of now, today we are creating, right? So, but those old things are not yet supported, then we need to do one other special activity called as migration. So right click on your data source and you can still see the transfer rules, all this stuff. But I don't want to use the old pattern now because I'm creating now, right? So I want to use the latest features, then you need to do the migration. Okay, so click on migrate. Now click on option called with export. So it is asking you, this data source with mapping and transfer structure will be deleted as a result of the migration. How the migration to be performed? Click on with export. So what is this migration means? So what is the current status of this data source? It is available in the old version, 3.x version, right? So I am migrating it to the latest version, the 7.x version. So this is how the procedure we need to follow. Okay. So and when I click on, it was asking me like with export or without export. How do I show the migration? So if I go with the option called without export, so currently what am I doing? I am converting it from 3.x version to 7.x version. In the future, there comes a requirement for you where you want to revert back the changes. Convert this 7.x version to the 3.x undo. Okay. In that case, if I go with the option called without export, then it is not applicable. When I click on the with export, which means in the future I can undo my changes also. So that is the difference between with export and without export. Now you can see once my object has been migrated, you can see that star symbol is gone, that the square symbol is gone. Okay. Now right click, you can see your transformation DTP and the transfer rules object is also gone. And that show migration option is also gone. So if you are working as of now, this is the procedure we need to follow. First we need to replicate. Replicate means copying. Migrate means migrating it to the migrating the old version object to the latest version. Okay. Once this object has been migrated, we can open the data source. Okay, and just make sure that you are reactivating it. You are reactivating it. Okay. So the data source is activated. So everything is ready with respect to data source. Now what is my next step? I need to construct my DSO. I need to construct my info cube. So here But all these are available, already given by the SAP, right? So all these are readily given by the SAP. So all these SAP defined objects are stored in a location called as BI content. Okay, so go to BI content. So just, I'm done with the structure of the data source, just leave it. Wait, later point of time, we'll just load the data. Now work with your DSO. Okay. Now go to option called object types or objects in BW. Now if you observe, this is what we have studied all these days. Info area, application components, info object catalog. So these are all reporting kind of environment, the BO, okay. Query elements, multi-provider, info set, info cube, aggregation, data source, info object, transformation, data source system, open up destination, okay, data flow, info package, GTP, process chains, everything. Most of the others we have covered, which means all these objects are given by the SAP. So here, if you want to search for your object, you need, what is your object you want to search for as of now? DSO, right? So open this DSO. So select objects. So here is the place where you see all the SAP defined objects. See, so many DSOs are readily available for you, keeping in mind the SAP ECC requirements. If non-SAP, definitely you need to create your own objects, no doubt about it. Okay. So out of these objects, you need to find out your own DSO now. So copy. Okay. Find button. Paste it. Okay. Now you can see the same DSO is already available. Select it. Transfer selections. Okay. Transfer selections. It is asking me the source system. Okay. Unselect all. I want to work with this source system, right? So just select it. Okay. Now, okay. Now you can see when I click on OK, it will take some time and put my DSO in the right side part of the screen. So here, we are also the same concept. All my DSOs, all my info, all the BW objects given by the SAP are available in this business content. But in delivery version, if you want to use them, select that object and activate them. Or in BW terminology, it is called as installation. Same what we have done with our data source. All the available data sources are available in the SAP defined data sources are available in the RSAFI. And if you want to use them, you need to activate them, right? Same logic here also. So it will take some time, right? Because it needs to read the entire structure from the library and show, right? So it will take some time. So now here, whenever you are installing a DSO, which means this DSO is readily, right? It has already key fields and data fields. Those are nothing but your info objects, right? So if you install the DSO, all the corresponding info objects, all the objects will also be automatically installed. So you never go and install each and every info object. Okay. Now you can see it is available in the right side part of the screen, right? So open it. You can see all the objects associated with it. So these are all the different info objects that are responsible for the construction of this DSO. Okay. So here, if you are checking this one means along with your DSO installation, all these info objects will also get installed. So you never work with individual objects. Okay. Now once it is done, select your info object and click on the option called install. So simulate install means it's like a demo. Before installation, you just want to test it out. If I install this object, anything is going to happen. Just rehearsal. Okay. Install means it is going to install now. Install in background means it is going to create a background job and do the things in the background. Install and transport means usually I already told you we have the development system, quality system plus production system, right? So we just install it and move the object to the production quality system for testing. But in our training, we have exactly one system, so just we'll go with the install option. So select your object and click on the option called install. So what is my system doing now? It is activating my DSO and all the corresponding objects. So it will take some time. because so many objects needs to be installed, right? So definitely it would be taking some time. In a similar lines, okay, go open another session. You want to install your InfoCube also, right? Because it's also readily available. So copy your InfoCube name, okay. Go to the same screen, RS7. Okay. Now go to your business content, BI content. Now InfoCube, right? So select your InfoCube option. So select objects. Here is the place. All your SAP defined InfoCubes are available. So many InfoCubes are given by the SAP. So many. Okay. Now find out. Give your name. Okay. And you can see your InfoCube's name is available over here. Cancel it. Select. Transfer selections. So just make a copy, same copy, so that will continue tomorrow. So desktop, SAP Extraction. February 2015. Okay, so cancel it. Now open another scene. Now you can see, oh, something is stopping me. The installation of the DSO is not available in version A. Okay. So something is stopping me with the installation. So it is telling me that some objects are not available. So you need to first go and install those basic objects, initial objects. Okay. So yeah, from here onwards we will continue tomorrow. I'll just show you how to fix all these things and go ahead with our installation. Okay. Yeah. If you have any questions, you can ask me now. Hello, guys, are you there? Yeah, shall I close down the system then? Catch you tomorrow if you don't have any doubts.
Okay.
And for you, Harish, tonight there is no class. Catch you tomorrow in the morning, same time, and I'll discuss in the same tomorrow's class.
Okay.
Okay, so everything is there, right? So just we'll try to install this one also. So definitely it will also show you some errors. So we'll continue from here tomorrow, no problem.
Okay.
Okay, done then.
Okay,
Catch you tomorrow. Yeah.